Okay. Hello, everyone. So good to see you all. We've got three of my former students here, Gracie, Leah, and Saskia from a couple different corners of the country. And we are coming together today to help you all figure out some fundraising strategies. These gals are fundraising pros and made their TTS semester happen because of the fundraising work that they put in before semester. So the goal of this session is to keep it nice and short. We'll try to aim for 20-ish minutes. I'm going to ask them a few different questions that they will answer with personal narratives to help you understand more of their story and get some advice. And why don't we start? I'll first introduce myself, and then we can popcorn around this crew and get oriented. So I'm Maddie Johnson. I've talked to some of you on interview before, but I am the recruiting coordinator now for the traveling school. I also was the literature and global studies teacher with these three on TTS 34 in Southern Africa. And I'm really excited to connect with you all again. And why don't we just start off with Gracie? You can introduce yourself, maybe say where you are in the world, what you're up to, and any other things that these gals should know about you.
Yeah, my name is Gracie. Like Maddie said, I was a part of TTS 34, and currently I just graduated high school and I'm preparing for a gap year before attending at UNC Chapel Hill.
Awesome. Leah, hit it.
Hi, I'm Leah, and like these two ladies said, I'm a part of TTS 34, and I'm from Detroit, Michigan. And I too am currently preparing for a gap year where I'm going to travel to Costa Rica before choosing which college I really want to go to.
And tuning in from her car today before picking up her prom dress. All right, Saskia.
I'm Saskia. I was also part of TTS, same class as them. And I am on my back porch in Vermont, and I am gonna live out of a van and go to Berkeley in some order.
Amazing. Yeah, I love that we have all seniors who are making some next big steps in their lives. Okay, so like I was saying, the goal of this conversation is to have each of you share a little bit of your fundraising story so that our future TTS students can feel informed and prepared in their fundraising journey. My first question for you all is, why did you feel fundraising was important to your TTS journey? So if your scholarship wasn't enough, why did you believe that you could keep going and you wanted to keep going to make a semester happen?
I can go first. I kind of gave like TTS a minimum amount of financial aid that I could get in order to go, and I didn't receive that, but it was close enough that I like really wanted to make it work. And it felt like it removed kind of from the program. Like I wanted to go so badly, and it was I was like, okay, I want to go and I know I want to go, so I know I have to make the money. And it was just like I just knew that I had to figure out a way to do it. So that's why that I fundraised.
Leah, what about you?
Um, After receiving like the scholarship, I realized like, yeah, it didn't cover enough of it, but it covered a big proportion of it. And I was talking to my mom and we were just deciding like, you know what we're not going to do is limit ourselves and not take this experience because of maybe our financial issues. So we decided that even though we have to fundraise a big proportion of money for like travel expenses, gear, and the flight costs, we realized that it was way better to go through the fundraising process than to not have this experience at all. So,
Awesome. And Gracie.
My experience is very similar to both of theirs. I had a goal, and my goal was to get to Africa, and I knew that like I wanted an experience exactly like TTS is offering, and I knew that it was going to be a lot and take a lot out of me, but it was completely worth it for the end result of being able to travel. So kind of that the drive to get where I wanted to go, and then knowing that if I put my mind to it, it was attainable.
And I'm so glad that each of you did that. My next question is speaking more specifically to your fundraising process. What did you do to fundraise? Thinking about the planning, the timelines, the apps that you might have used, or different platforms that helped you. And if you have also had different strategies for college applications or something utilized since your semester, also fair game to speak to. Yeah, so whoever wants to kick it off, just specifically sharing about what you used and what you did and how much time that took to make it happen.
I can start. So I think that something that a lot of the students don't think about when fundraising is like social media. So like advertising themselves on social media. And although it is like a little embarrassing and maybe weird, it's a different feeling to say like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Could you give me some money?" It's definitely still worth it and it's worth a try. So what I did was, me and my mom made a Facebook account for me, and then Instagram and so on and so forth with just different pages on social media. And we called it LMP Worldwide. And so then we made a video explaining what I was doing, why I was doing it, what I'm going to give back to my community, and then what I'm looking to gain from these pages. And I just kind of offered myself as, hey, I'm going to experience this, but I am bringing what I learned back into the community. Um, and whatever you can give to help would be greatly appreciated. And we posted that on social media and promoted it. And if someone was just giving $500 or $1, we told them like it made a difference. And everyone knows that their parents are on Facebook, their parents' parents are on Facebook, their parents' friends are on Facebook. So like it's just about getting the word out. And so I think that creating maybe a Facebook page or Instagram page really can help with that, because it just gets out what you're doing and how people can help. And you never know, I actually did get like a $500 donation from this random man who I had never met before, who was my mom's friend, but I really appreciated it. So, just trying to think outside of the box and thinking where you can cover most ground. And right now, in this new age, it's social media.
Wow, that's so cool. Leah, did you have any experience with that kind of thing beforehand, or was it a process that you learned on your own?
I had experience with public speaking, but never like advertising myself on social media.
Yeah.
So it was a different learning experience. And after like taking all, like, we had like 50 takes of the video, because so TTS says like make an elevator speech, right? And so I wrote that and then I put it into like more conversational speaking and then made a video. But it took like 50 videos of the same clip 100,000,000 times for me to finally get a perfect video. So it can be frustrating. It can be like really overwhelming. It can cause like a lot of anxiety. But just pushing yourself and learning this new like ability or skill to, hey, I can advertise myself to get where I need to be, to do what I need to do. And now I can actually still use the page to fundraise for Costa Rica. So I plan on making another video speaking towards what I'm doing and how people can help. And hopefully someone gives me another $500.
Amazing. Thank you. What about Gracie?
A lot of what Leah said rang very true for me as well. I never had any experience fundraising. I had never had to market myself or anything before, so it was a very new experience. But a lot of what I did, so specifics, I guess, I worked for a very long time. I earned up a lot of money. And I probably started fundraising maybe 4 months before I had to leave, 4 or 5 months. Um, And so yeah, I put in a lot of time to working to kind of creating my own general steady revenue that I could rely on, that I knew for sure I was going to have. That way it wasn't all up to chance in terms of donations. And like Leah said, I also made social media accounts. I had a GoFundMe page, I had Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, like literally anything that I could get myself out on, I made it. And I think what she said is also very true about the embarrassment part. Like, I think a lot of people are shy almost to put themselves out there to ask for money, especially when they know that they're asking for money. But once you kind of like in order to fully promote yourself in a way that makes you appear confident, desirable, like, wow, people want to know what I'm doing, they want to invest in me, like you kind of have to like fake it till you make it and like stay confident, stick with it. But outside of working, I also I used any type of lists that I essentially could, like whether it was my mother's Christmas card list or if it was her Facebook followers or anything. And I sent out a brochure about like myself, kind of like what Leah's video was. I did in brochure format. So I had pictures, I talked about TTS, I talked about what I wanted to do, why I wanted to do it, all of that. And then I also sent it with a letter explaining like exactly what I hoped to get from the experience and how I hope to apply it to the community around me when I got back.
Mm.
And from that is where I got most of my financial like help, was through these letters and kind of just reaching out. And the other thing that I did, I think a lot of people forget that even after you're donated to or you're aided by somebody, like don't let that person drop out of your contact. Like make sure you continue to talk to them, because you never know when they're going to come up again and either like donate more money or offer you some of their supplies rather than having to buy it, or like and or spread you out to their network of friends that you can then talk to. So kind of I sent everybody who donated to me a thank you card, whether it was 50 cents or $1,000. Like I sent every single person a thank you card, like kind of make them feel special and know that they genuinely helped, and like it helps build and like maintain a steady relationship that you can start relying on more.
Mm.
I mean, outside of that, I also did multiple like public events, I guess you could say. I had a garage sale, I did a silent auction, I talked to my boss, and we had like a little gathering at her place where she like promoted me to some of her work friends. So it was a lot of making connections and then maintaining those connections and then being comfortable with promoting myself within those connections to get whatever like to attain my goals, and then learn how to apply that so that I could continue like so just so that I could continue achieving the same things that I had been achieving.
Mm.
Another thing that I did that really helped me was that I had a visual representation of my progress. I essentially got a giant poster board and then got like a bunch of little tiny like cutout sushi stickers. And for every $100 I raised, I colored in a sushi and then I pinned them on this board. So I had a visual representation of the progress that I made, and that really helped keep me motivated to continue like for every dollar I got, like I'd color in a little bit of the sushi roll. And even though like it sounds so stupid and like mundane, it really helped me like being able to walk into my kitchen every single day and see this giant board of like, wow, that's all the progress that I've made and I could keep doing this.
Mm.
So kind of, yeah, that really helped me, is seeing a representation of my achievements.
Wow, Gracie, you should be a future development director at some nonprofit. We're gonna gonna consider you if you ever want to help fundraise. Can you speak a little bit more to GoFundMe? That's a platform that I'm not super familiar with, and it seems like that was helpful for you. Just how does it work? How do you get a network? Um, Teach us.
Yeah. So in all honesty, I don't remember everything about it. It's been a couple of years, but I remember that it was super easy to set up an account. Like, I think literally all you need to do is you can just like type in what you want to raise for, like, how much you're planning on raising, and then you can share that link anywhere. So it's super simple. It takes like 5 minutes to set up, and depending on like how you utilize it, you can spread it to like the furthest reaches of all of your social media. And a lot of times GoFundMe will also like promote your project, I guess, for lack of a better term. So the website itself will like put it on web pages if you're looking for key terms or
Yeah,
stuff like that. So
I also used it and it was good.
Saskia, what was your experience with it?
Super easy. You just make an account, you write a short little bio saying like, this is who I am, this is what I'm doing. Mine was like a paragraph, and then you can send it through any kind of social media. So you could put it like link it in your Instagram or like text it to people. And if you search someone's name, their GoFundMe comes up. So I lost something in Santa Fe and somebody found me through my GoFundMe. Like they just searched in my name, found my GoFundMe and sent it to me. So it's like on the web if you get searched or anything like that. And then also you can link it to anything else you want.
Wow. Saskia, do you want to speak more specifically to your other fundraising ideas?
Yeah, mine are very unexciting compared to everyone else's, but I had a very hard time like asking for money or like putting myself out there, and that is something that's a skill I definitely want to develop, especially listening to you guys having done that so well. But I asked to borrow money from like a couple specific people. So I talked to my parents, and I talked to my grandparents and other like close friends. And I did this again with college, as I got connected with somebody who was interested to lend money to students. And then you like work out the terms. So instead of asking for money, I just spoke to people who I felt really comfortable with and kind of just like had a long process of negotiating borrowing money and kind of the terms of paying it back. And so I worked from like the moment I got in, I worked busing because I was younger. I think I was like 15 or 16, so I couldn't do much more. So I bussed all summer long at a restaurant, and I made money that way. And that's kind of how I like proved that I was willing to work for it, and just stayed in communication, like you guys were saying, with the people I was asking to borrow money from. And then when I got back, I found a job, and I continued to work. I worked like 50 hours a week as a waitress at Applebee's. And I know this sounds silly, but really thinking about like the jobs that are available and how much money you can make is really helpful, because just like depending on like the restaurant that I worked in, I made so much more money, and finding kind of like a higher end restaurant that you got tipped more was like the difference of thousands of dollars for me. And so just like really thinking and being intentional. I'm a teacher now, and I make way less money. And the only reason that I do that is because I am not trying to pay back a bunch of debt. And if I was, I would be working back at Applebee's because I made like 4 times as much money. So just like really thinking about where you want to work and like how much money you can make from it. It sounds kind of, I don't know, funny, but that's what I did. So I borrowed money and I worked. And then for college, I applied for grants too. So I found like niches that I fit into, which for me was being a diabetic. So I searched like college scholarships for diabetics, and then I applied to like 15 of them. So just being creative with like the jobs that you want to do, and then like finding kind of like a niche that you could fit into to apply for grants, and then finding people who would lend me money. That's how I did it.
Did any of you have luck with utilizing skills or talents that you have and showcasing them? Whether it's, I mean, Gracie, I'm thinking of you and your silks and stuff. Was there ever opportunities in your communities to tutor or teach or use platforms? I don't know if you've ever heard of Witty Up, but it's essentially a GoFundMe, but where you can create educational videos showcasing one of your talents and getting money through that. It's kind of like a GoFundMe, but the donor would get something or a skill or a lesson in return. Any success there, or any potential for that to be successful if you were to do it again?
I started to do it actually through Arden recommended it. One of the our teachers from TTS was like a tutoring platform. I forget what the name of it, but you would just like, you sign up and you say what skills you have, and then you could do like tutoring, or you can make videos like you were saying. And yeah, you just get paid to do it. It'd be a job, but it was online based on skills you had. And so, yeah, but I didn't end up really getting into it, but I did make an account.
Gotcha.
And then separate from that, I did It's not like a skill, but I make waist beads, which is like a form of jewelry. It's more like it dates back to African culture, which kind of related to us going to Africa and stuff like that. So I took that class and I said, "Hey guys, I'm doing a fundraising class, um, which involves me making waist beads, and I can make waist beads for you, or you can come and we can make waist beads together just to teach you like what do you do, like how do you do it." I taught the benefits of it and kind of just marketed that. And I ended up getting a good amount of like fundraising from that as well.
Mm. Gracie, anything to add on that note?
I actually had no idea that that type of platform was a thing, but she said, I wish I used that. Like, that would have been nice. But I guess the way that I utilized my skills the most, I've been working at a barn for a really, really, really long time, like since before I like even began working. And so I applied that in a lot of ways where like I'd go to different members of the community who were more in like in rural areas and required like manual labor on their farms, or whether they needed me to like feed animals or help move like hay bales or literally anything and everything. So that was, I guess, the closest thing that I got to just utilizing skills that I had previously was applying my like just something that I've been doing for a long time and then like outreaching that into the community to see where I could like pick up any little spare job on the side that I could.
Awesome. And I feel like you three covered a ton. Are there any other things that you remember from classmates or friends of yours from your communities that did something different or might be interesting for these gals to pursue?
On a separate call where we had done this kind of call, but like with the students here, someone had mentioned maybe reaching out to companies and saying, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. Could I try out your product to see how it works?" For gear, and saying like, "Hey, I'm doing this. Do you have any like spare products you want someone to use or try out?" And then like give a review back in exchange.
Mhm.
So I thought that was really interesting because I didn't do that, but I really wish I did. So I think that is something that can also be, it's a little scary, but what's the worst they can say? No. So just, maybe reaching out to Patagonia or Chacos, but not my sandal brand. Don't use mine. It was so bad. But just like reaching out to big companies that you could use their gear and like write a review for them of how it helped you and how it sustained through the semester.
Yeah, Leah, thank you for bringing that up. I learned that too from that panel we had. And I think in my current life, like that's how, so I mean, I live in Jackson, Wyoming, gear is extremely expensive. Whether you advocate for the brand and you say, I really have loved this brand in the past and I would love to bring this sandal that I know is tried and true on my semester while I'm learning all of these things, and excited to bring back skills back home. I think brands believe in students. It's more of an easy yes for them to say that to a 16-year-old who's excited to pursue something totally unusual, that has the end goal of making change and making positive change in their communities. So yeah, great idea. Writing letters to companies, whether that's for discounts or to try out their gear in exchange for some positive feedback or a review. And ultimately, like a lot of companies too have products that they would be putting on sale or just keeping in their warehouse if it's not selling, and they would love for it to get used by students like yourselves. Anything else on that note?
I would just say that I felt like when I was fundraising, I felt a super like time crunch to get it done before the semester. And then on the semester, we all had this moment. We were like, oh, we're going to get back in early December and we're all going to have a month and a half or two where we're not really doing anything and we're home before like the second semester of school starts. So I would just say like remembering that you do have time after, even if it's like a month or two, if you're working somewhat full time or not even, you could make, a couple $1,000s or more during that time after the semester. That just like for me, that alleviated like a time crunch feeling, or like a feeling of like panic that I'm not making this money before I leave. You could have a chunk of time after you get back that if you use that, like that could be a good resource too.
Awesome.
And then
Great. Oh, yeah, go for it.
the only thing I would say is like don't be scared to ask people for money. Like I can't stress that enough. Like it was so hard for me to like just get away from the mindset of, oh, this is wrong. I shouldn't be asking these random people for money. But honestly, people are a lot more generous than you think. And they're looking for someone who's going on this amazing opportunity to invest in because they wanted to experience something like this. So to see someone doing it is really amazing. And it feels weird at first, but once you get into the groove of it, don't stress it. It's totally normal. Just no one talks about it enough.
Awesome. Yeah, well, my last question, which you've kind of already covered, but what are some last words of wisdom that you would have for these students who are maybe in that space of feeling the anxiety about it, the time crunch of it, maybe even the embarrassment of what some of these asks might feel like? What's your advice to them?
Um, but I guess my biggest piece of advice, kind of Leah worded it like so well, kind of that fear of asking people for money is definitely hard to get over, or even just asking them for like help or assistance. A lot of people don't like doing that, but once you get used to it, it's so much easier. And every time you do it, it gets easier until like you just feel really comfortable doing it. And I guess another thing, my other piece of advice would be to actively like I just learned that keeping track of exactly what I was doing in a way that like helps motivate you and keep you pumped for fundraising is really important because especially when a goal is as big as what a lot of people are fundraising for during TTS, it's important to break that into smaller pieces that you can attain and get seem like much less of a giant project than it might be. Because the larger it is, the harder it is to like stay motivated to keep working at it. So it's a hard thing to chip away at, but as long as you're remembering that like you are chipping away and it is getting smaller, however that may come across, however you choose to keep track of that is just really important. Yeah, and I guess that's my biggest piece of advice. Just like remember that you're making progress, no matter how small it seems, and progress builds up until it like all comes together at once.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would say also keep having the conversations. And like there were times also with college fundraising where I felt like I hit a wall and I was like, okay, I can't do this. I can't make the money. But just like keep having conversations like with your family or with other students too, or like past students or teachers. And just like when you feel like you've hit a wall, just keep having the conversations because everyone might have like a smaller piece of advice. And I don't know, like I know this sounds cheesy, but like where there's a will, there's a way. And just like keep having those conversations. And like if you feel like you've hit a wall, that's okay. Just like take a minute and like keep trying.
Hmm. And real quick on that note, just I'll advocate for the office has done this now for 35 semesters. We've seen a ton of different types of fundraising strategies across our time watching students make their tuition happen. And I think we are a resource, alumni are resources. We can connect, prospective students and students who are trying to make the next semester happen to former alumni's parents, and those conversations do generate some of that excitement again, even if it's feeling like it's getting a little bit lost because there are so many ideas just within this Zoom screen and then also beyond with other alumni who have tried other things. Leah, did you have any last words of wisdom?
My final piece, which I keep saying it, is just go for it. And like Saskia was saying, consistency really is key and just keep pushing yourself. And I know it feels weird, but just keep pushing yourself. It's just a small comfort zone that you're getting out of, but in the long run, the skill is way worth it to have in the future.
My one last question, and maybe all three of you don't have to answer it, but some of our families and students are concerned that the effort they would be putting into this fundraising process would deter from the effort that could come from college scholarship fundraising. How does that sit with you all? Do you feel like it's worth it to make both things happen, knowing that a lot of our students do want to go to college in the next couple of years after graduating from a semester. And it's a big ask to have a family put away this amount of money for a high school semester, knowing that they also want to be saving for college.
This one was a really big one for me. I had like a small fund that could go, like, that was supposed to go to college, and I fought and I like advocated for using it for my TTS semester. And now as I'm going to college and I didn't get much aid for college, I've kind of had to like grapple with that decision. And I like absolutely stand behind my decision to use it for the traveling school, because like it gave me the foundation that I'm going to use to go to college. And it gave me like a drive to go to college, and a kind of like a place to like it completely defined how I'm going through the college process in a way that I wouldn't necessarily know what I wanted to do, or like what colleges I'd want to go to, or what experience I'd want to go to. And for college is like such an expensive thing. And I think having some idea of what you want to get out of it before you go makes the experience more meaningful. And it gave me the skills to fundraise again for college. And like the difference of like between like $5,000 and $10,000 for me that I was raising is a difference of like knowing like where I want to go and what I want to do and what I want to get out of it and how to raise that money. And I feel like way more prepared to go to college, and like I'm going to get more out of it. And I have the skills to make that money again. And like money is meant to be spent. And I spent the money that I made the absolute best way I possibly could. So I have no regrets, even if it means I'm starting from like a lower point going to college. I have absolutely no regrets doing that. And like it completely made me who I am. And I have so many resources around the country with the TTS people, and like so many minds to bounce my ideas off of and like give me advice and guidance. And I just feel so much more prepared for college. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I agree with that sentiment completely. Like it was obviously and that was also a really big decision for me, especially in terms of like I knew I wanted to go abroad, and I knew that TTS was like the perfect fit for me, but just the expense at first was so overwhelming that it was like intimidating. But kind of this I went through the exact same process as Saskia. I had kind of this moment where I finally had to decide, okay, am I going to commit to this? Am I going to do this? And I have not regretted it once at all. Kind of like, I don't know how I can say it better than Saskia said it, but yeah, it completely reshaped my perception of myself, of how I approach my education, of how I apply my education. And I think that's truly an invaluable experience that if I hadn't done TTS, I don't think I ever would have gotten it. And to be able to apply that mindset to my future, whether that's college, a job, just experience in general, is almost more valuable than materialistic money for college could ever be. And it just genuinely like it no regrets. I do it a million times over, and yeah, that's my final thought on that.
Also just like knowing the value of the education is really important. And like now looking at the even bigger sum I have to pay for school, like knowing how valuable my education could be is like it makes it no, I don't even think about it as much. I'm like, okay, I know I want to do this. I know how valuable my education is, and I'm going to make it work. And I don't know if I would have that mindset without the traveling school.
Oh, you all are amazing. Well, thank you. I don't know if you have any last bits of wisdom or advice, but I certainly learned a lot. And I think that this is just the kind of fodder that our girls need to inspire them and get them ready to do some fundraising. If you all are comfortable with it too, I can leave you as contacts for some of them to just email or maybe even chat through something with on the phone, because you have such amazing knowledge about this process so far. And obviously the complement of the fundraising experience and the traveling school semester experience can further motivate them to to know why they're doing it and keep that passion going even when it feels hard. And again, I'll just say from an office perspective and a faculty perspective, having written all three of these gals letters of recommendation and reading their college essays, it's pretty amazing how much the traveling school experience does help you stand out on a college application. I'm writing from 4 months sitting alongside these girls and watching them in literature class, also on a really, really hot travel day, also as they're helping, pitch tents with their classmates. So I get such a holistic picture of each of the students that we get to teach, and that's in itself a really unique perspective for a teacher to have, and one that I'm really privileged to have, and one that can further those college applications in really unique ways. So I'm just really grateful that you all worked so hard. It's clear you worked so hard to make a traveling school semester happen. And I'm appreciating all of this wisdom because I think it will really help our girls figure out some strategies to use. And also, I think a lot of it is your personality. What talents do you want to showcase and use to raise money? What network do you have? And how can you figure out, I want to advocate for myself here. I believe in this experience. I want companies to believe in me and donate some gear my way. I also want my friends and family to believe in me and know that this will ultimately come back to their communities. So y'all are rock stars. I love you. It's so good to see you. And yeah, we should do this again sometime. Love my little Zoom chats.
Also, thank you, Maddie, for continuing to put in the effort for like all the new students. I feel like I had my experience and I can like in some way just keep working on, and like it's great to know that like there's still you fighting for all the new students, and like that makes me really happy to know that they will have this experience, and it's in a large part because of all the work that you're doing.
Thank you. Well, I'm motivated by you all, so I appreciate it. And I hope you all have wonderful rest of your days in, where do we got? North Carolina, Detroit, and Burlington, Vermont. Hopefully, Leah, you can make your way back to your home and get out of your car. And keep me updated. I love hearing the updates, and I'm rooting for you. It's so exciting to hear where you're all going next year. I love it so much. All right, I'm going to end this recording.